Yo, who up touring their stage right now, am I right?
Stage tour. We finally have a name, we finally have a gameplay trailer, and a lot of people have asked what my thoughts are. Yesterday being the IGN FanFest event is where we got our first peek at the game. Now right off the bat, I want to make something abundantly clear. I don't think the game looks perfect. As a matter of fact, I have a couple things I want to bring up in this video that I feel that they can improve as development goes on. However, I'm not going to be looking at this as if it's a final product yet. I cannot say the same for a lot of community members who have already passed judgment on this game, but I'm going to give my opinion on that towards the end of the video. First things first, let's talk about the positives. We're getting a brand new Kramer bundled in with the game, which I never thought would happen. This is my personal favorite Guitar Hero design of all time, and hey, that color scheme looks a little familiar. Obviously, this guitar is being manufactured by Cracked and will be bundled in with a copy of the game. I believe they're going with digital codes by the sound of their blog, but they haven't rolled out physical copies for a special edition of the game. I have zero doubt in my mind they're going to be using limited run for this because Embracer Group owns both of them. We also appear to be getting new microphones, which are branded on the side of them, which remind me a lot of the old Guitar Hero mics, although these either appear to be wireless or have a removable cable, which is pretty cool. I don't remember any of the past Guitar Hero or Rock Band games having that as an option, at least not officially. We also got a new look at the Cracked drums, which I'm certain a lot of you are very excited for. They look pretty cool. Now let's shift our attention to the actual game itself. Graphically, I think it looks alright. The animation loops look a little short, but I can't imagine these are the final ones. I'm assuming they're going to add more as development continues. And fidelity-wise, I think it looks phenomenal. The guitars look amazing, the character models themselves look like they're really high poly, the stage looks nice and colorful. I think it looks alright. The majority of people complaining are mostly talking about the art style not really being what they had in mind, but I think it does work for this kind of game. Obviously, comparing it to something like Guitar Hero 3 is going to not only show Guitar Hero 3's age, but also show what the graphical style was going for at the time. But here's the thing, we don't live in 2007 anymore. The character designs had to be refreshed to look a little bit more modern for general appeal. To me, they remind me a bit of the Sony animation art style, but with slightly bigger heads. Like, think K-pop Demon Hunters or the Spider-Verse movies, like that kind of thing. I think it works. We also got to look at the highway, and this is where my main criticisms come into play. I'm not a fan of the HUD being under the strike line. You see, Guitar Hero 1 through 3 I have a lot of nostalgia for, but I think the UI there doesn't really work. Having to shift your eyes between the corners of the screen and the main highway to tell what your score is, what your multiplier is, while shifting your eyes back to the center of the screen consistently to see the upcoming notes, I feel like that was a little bit on the distracting side. Guitar Hero 5 onward nailed it. I mean, you'd expect them to. It was probably focus tested to hell. Having the multiplier and star power meter be halfway up on the right side of the highway worked flawlessly, because that's naturally where you're looking for upcoming notes. You're not staring at the strike line. You're staring in front of the strike line, seeing what's coming next. So shifting your eyes ever so slightly to the right makes a lot of sense. Does shifting your eyes down below the strike line to view that information make as much sense? I honestly couldn't tell you. I haven't played the game yet. It might not be that big of a deal, but judging by the 15 seconds or whatever of gameplay we have of the highway, I could see why this could be a potential problem. Again, I could be completely wrong about this, and they can actually negate it by having the HUD be customizable inside of the game. The only other complaint I have is the fact that the language support is a little on the weak side. English, French, Italian, German, and Spain's version of Spanish, but no Latin American Spanish, no Portuguese, no Japanese. I feel like you're locking a significant amount of the user base out by not having those languages in the game. I know a ton of Guitar Hero players in Brazil that would kill for this game, especially with it being on Steam and not being locked to a console, which I know is very unaffordable down there. And for Spanish-speaking Latin American countries, from my understanding, their Spanish is different than Spain's, so having that option would be nice too. Again, it's early days. I could see these languages being added later on or perhaps post-launch, but it would just be nice to see them in the game at all, so that way other people from other cultures and countries can still experience the game at a level that they're comfortable with. I would now like to take a moment to talk about the community reaction to this game. I don't mean to sound like I'm talking in absolutes here. A very loud minority created a lot of problems, and the majority of the fan base behaved themselves and were totally fine. There is nothing wrong with having criticisms or having feedback for how a game looks in its early trailers, but there were quite a few people going the extra mile, targeting and tagging specific developers, calling them all sorts of awful things and throwing insults at them because they don't like the way a game looks that's not coming out for between 7 and 9 months. This is kind of jarring and very unnerving for the future of this community. If you want to provide constructive criticism that the developers could use to improve the experience, absolutely go for it. But throwing around insults and slurs, specifically targeting certain individuals working on the game, isn't helping anybody. It's just making you look like an asshole. I don't think you understand how long between 7 and 9 months is. That's basically the amount of time it takes to get pregnant and have a kid. That is a very long time for video game development, especially when we were only shown a very short snippet of gameplay. That's like reviewing a movie based off of a 30-second pre-roll ad trailer you get on YouTube. That's just dumb. Who does that? I know this may sound hypocritical coming from the guy that shits on Fortnite Festival for not having practice mode, but you gotta remember, that game mode launched over 2 years ago, and this game isn't coming out until the end of this year. Fortnite also makes more money than Jesus, and Red Octane Games has a much smaller development staff. Now, if the game launches and it's not good, absolutely go off on it. But targeting specific individuals for a very short gameplay preview that you saw during an event that wasn't specifically even for the game is the most ridiculous thing I've seen in a while. Keep in mind, I used to make Sonic videos. I thought that fan base was unhinged. At least I can say it's a very vocal minority that's doing this and not the majority of players doing it. The majority of people in the fanbase remember how rough Rock Band 4 looked before launch, and keep in mind, the gameplay you're seeing now was 5 months before the game went gold. A lot can happen in a very short amount of time with game development, and I'm certain Red Octane Games is taking everyone's comments into consideration. Just don't be a dick about it, that's all I'm asking. Again, if you want to see something improved, there is nothing wrong with leaving constructive criticism on exactly what you want to see improved. But don't be an asshole to individuals, because those individuals will remember and they're far less likely to take your comments into consideration in the future. Just food for thought. Once again, this part of the video wasn't meant to address everybody in the community. The majority of you were totally fine and gave very constructive criticism. I just don't like seeing individuals getting shit on for a very unfinished product that they just wanted to give a short preview of. Anyway, what are your guys' thoughts of the game? Let's have a civil discussion down in the comments. This has been DanRock. Peace out and take care.